Hello friends, and welcome to part one of two parts of confidence intervals for proportions on Minitab. Oh, I just realized that says proportions, and it's just, we're doing both. I had them separated originally, so it's just confidence intervals on Minitab. There we go. Um, so today I'm going to be looking at a rather large data set with a lot of variables, so I'm actually going to turn off the navigator for this. In case you didn't know how to do this, if you click view and then hide navigator, it'll get rid of that guy. I'm going to slide it over. Yeah, there's no way this is going to fit. I wish I knew how to switch between these fast. It'll be okay. I believe in us. So the credit card banking data is a big complex data set that has a lot of variables in it. And we're only going to be using a couple. This is a bunch of people applied for loans at a bank. It's a good time. Let's do this thing. Anyway, so the only variables we're going to be using is enrolled in program, market segment, and then spend lift, which if you didn't know what spend lift is, where is it? Spend lift after promotion, sorry. So the spend lift variable is how much people change their spending after receiving a credit card offer. Basically, the offer sent out like some free stuff, and that's what's in this column. And then they look to see what were their charges changed over 6 months. So if they spent more, this comes out positive. If they were paying down their cards and trying to not spend as much, it came out negative. So that gives you an idea of what this is. So since we're only looking at those three, those are the only ones we're going to be messing with. And in particular, because this data is just everybody who applied, who was given an offer, we're going to need to randomly sample from this, because one of the first things you need for a good confidence interval is for to be at a random sample. So let's go over to data. So I haven't even started this at all. I'm just starting with doing my random sampling. So I'm going to get samples from columns. And the columns I want, where's market segment and where's enrolled in programs? I got market segment in there, enrolled in program. Oh, hold on, I gotta scroll this. And where's spend lift? Spend lift, there we go. There's the three I need, and I need 100. So I could do a smaller sample. That should be fine though. That's probably more than big enough. I'm not really sure what this can come out looking. I probably should do some pre-testing with a smaller sample, but I'm not going to this time. I'm just going to go with 100 and see how it works, especially since I know this is what you have to do for your assignment this week, is a sample of size 100. Let's hit OK. So it is just going to throw your samples at the end of your document. So I showed you the end on purpose earlier so you could see there was nothing in here. And there's your three that we're going to be messing with. So there we go. Yeah? Yeah, okay, cool. All right, so first up, let's create a 95% confidence interval for the proportion of customers that were enrolled in the program. So enrolled in program only has two options in it, yes or no. So we're going to be able to do this pretty easily. So we're going to go up to one sample, down to a proportion. And I know it's a proportion because this is a categorical variable, qualitative variable. And since it's words, this is all I can do to it, so where is it? Sample from, oh, I hate how you can't see this. Is there a way to scroll it over? Nope, it won't let me. I think it's this one. Oh, C14, that's how I can tell. Ah, yes, that's the correct one. Double click you in there. Perfect. The event I do want is yes, because I want to know what proportion of customers were enrolled, which would be yes. Let's go over to options. It's set at 95%. I'm going to want the normal approximation mode of this. If you click the drop down for confidence interval, you'll only see a couple options, but you can type in here as well. So if you want to do like 98%, you totally can. Fun fact. I'm anticipating you guys will watch both videos. So I've got some things in one and not in others. There we go. And so there is my confidence interval. There's my sample proportion. Oh, I got perfectly half. That's weird. Anyway, so that's my sample. There's my estimate for the population. So I'm going to do my margin of error first. Oh, let me move this over a little. Can't quite see it. So remember, and this is in the picture below too, the initial estimate, your sample P, is the center of the interval. And then to get to the ends of the interval, so to get to this side, I add the margin of error to get here. And then I subtract the margin of error to get here. So what I could do is I could calculate the spread of this by doing, the margin of error by doing, finding my z star, my critical value, figuring out my spread. That's what I was trying to say earlier. Multiply them together and figure out what that is. But I don't like to do that. I'm lazy. So since I have to add the margin of error to the mean to get here, if I just remove the mean, that'll give me the margin of error. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. So my margin of error, or E, is going to be equal to the upper part of my CI minus my sample P. So in particular, for this interval, that is 0.597998. Ugh, it's gross. Minus, oops, I put the minus in there twice. Minus just 0.5 because it's perfectly a half. So that's an easy one to calculate. I'm not going to pull out a calculator for that. That's just going to be what's left over. Good times. Ooh, so we're rocking an almost 10%. That's kind of bad. Yeah. Anyway, let's write an interpretation of this interval. So what this tells me is, you know, between 40 and 59 percentage of my people are enrolled in the program. So in the population, remember, not the sample. I know how many in the sample are enrolled in the program. That's 50. That's a sample P. So we are 95% confident that the proportion of all, I'm going to say credit card holders because that's who these are, who are in this program is between, and I got to put my lower estimate, so I'm going to write this as a percentage with just 2 decimal places, because that looks like it'll be pretty interesting. 40.20% and 59.80%. That's pretty good. I like that. Okay, cool. Now let's create the confidence interval for the proportion of customers that were classified as being in the market segment of average spenders. You'll notice market segment has a bunch of different options in it. I'm going to show you what happens when you have lots of different options. So we're going to go to one sample proportion. So I could have hit the make similar button here, but I didn't need to. And I want to go to sample, what is this, C13? Yeah, C13, because that's the one that's from market segment. And it's going to yell at me, oh no, must contain 1 to 2 complete non-missing values. Okay, so what it's doing now is it's saying, oh no, you don't have just 2 things to choose from, because when it comes to calculating a proportion, Minitab can only do things that look like the enrolled in program stuff, yes and no. So it only has 2 options, a success and a failure. That's how you make P's. So this one, it's mad because it's like, hey, you got a bunch of stuff in there. This isn't going to work. Oh no. So I'm going to hit cancel because I know I can't do this. And I already knew I couldn't do it, but it's okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to need to make a new column that tells and marks who among these people are average spenders and who are not. And then I'm going to have to do the test on that column. So I'm going to make a new column by doing what we call a recode. So I'm going to go up to data and to recode and then choose to text. And I'm going to throw my C13 that wouldn't work in there. All right, and notice it brings up all my values in there. I'm interested in average spender, so I'm going to change that to being a yes, and then all of my rest of these to no's. So what it's essentially going to do is going to take all those other options, and they're going to all, in this new recoded variable, look like no's, so they're all going to look the same. So there'll only be 2 options now, yes and no. And then I'm going to hit OK. And then here's my new column, and if you look back here, average spender is a yes, medium to high spender a no. This looks like it's doing it right. Cool. Now I've got my new column. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to run my test on that column. So, oh wait, the last thing I always do is double check to make sure my no's all look the same in the summary variable box. That's it, doing the recode. Since mine all line up the same, they all look the same. If one of them looks off kilter, like if there was a space in here, it would look like it's slightly over one. That no looks different, even though it's just a space that makes it different. Ugh, if that's the case, then you need to redo your recode so that all your no's look the same. Otherwise, it will think it is a different value, even though it looks the same. Let's go to one proportion. We're going to throw in our new recoded variables. That's the last one. Now it's like, hey, let's do this. You want yes, right? Yes, I do. Thank you, Minitab. Let's go to options. Got to change it back to a normal approximation. It's funny how you have to always do that. Go back to data and then hit OK. All right, and there's my interval. So it appears that the proportion of people that are in the average spender group is actually quite small. It's, you know, it's very tiny. Okay. So we are 95% confident. Oh, I just said write what it is, not like write the interpretation. Oops. All right, I just got to write my interval. So there's two ways we do this. We can write it as an interval, which is really how you should write it. 71325. Or you can write it with that giant weird dash thing that your book likes. I'm not doing that because I really don't know how to type that, to be honest. And I'm not really willing to futz with Word to write something that isn't an interval for a confidence interval. Take that, Gobner, Shannon, and I forget the third author's name. Anyway, now let's create a 95% confidence interval for the spend lift variable. I'm hoping you notice the spend lift variable is quantitative, which means I am not going to be doing a proportion test to it. I'm going to need to do a quantitative test. So I've got two options. Go up to one sample. I can either do a T or a Z to it. Remember, you can only do a Z if you know what the population standard deviation is. In this case, I do not, so I'm going to go to T. So I'm going to throw my sample in there. Where is it? It's in C15. There she is. We're going to go over to options. 95%, that's what I want. I am good to go. So just to go over this again, I mean, there's nothing complicated here. You throw in your variable, you tell it what percent you want. I picked 95 for all of these. I regret that choice now. And you're good to go. And there is my interval. It's negative. Almost always. Oh no, which means this actually was not a good program because it reduced spending. Ugh. Unless your goal was to help your credit card purchasers to pay off their cards, in which case this is good. But what's negative? Or either that or I got a really bad sample. It could be. It appears that whatever offer we gave them didn't seem to work because they didn't spend any more money on their cards. Yikes. Okay, so my interval came out. Ooh, I don't like how my interval came out. Looking back at this, you'll notice I only have one decimal point here, which is not good. This is money. One way you can fix this is you can actually change the number of decimal points being displayed. If you, come on, I'm trying to remember which button this is, and it's, there we go. That is not working. I'm gonna have to pause this. For some reason, my keyboard has decided it's done working. Hold on, people. I'm having a good day. Okay, I apologize, but I cannot get my keyboard to work, so I'm not going to be able to make this do more decimal places. At this stage, I would write down the interval. This is going to be the worst teaching moment ever. I already showed you how to get a margin of error. You're just going to have to take your upper confidence interval value and subtract the point estimate. In this case, that's the mean, which is right here. It will come out negative because they're all negative. So there you go. And then lastly, I would write an interpretation, which would be we're 95% confident that the average spend lift for credit card holders, for all credit card holders, there's me talking about the population, is somewhere between negative $698 and maybe 20 cents, might be more than that, and negative $76.40. So again, I'm sorry that this is not working. I'm gonna go cry a little. Just kidding. That's really depressing sounding. Yeah, it's fine. I will have to fix this and then get back to y'all. Sorry about this, but I'm out of time. As you can see, it's Sunday.